Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Cut the Noise Show, where we talk about 20% of things that get you 80% of your results in life, where there carry two main areas of life: health, of course, and then wealth, because I believe they're all very closely related. So today we're going to focus on health and talk about what is good health, right? What is good health? This is something that I spoke about recently on another show that I'm going called Good Life with two gentlemen who are in similar fields but different, and where we cover love or we cover health, wealth, um, relationships, and happiness, or mindset, if you will. So, talk about what is good health. Now, today's going to be like a ton of information coming right at you. Um, and I'm going to make it pretty short and as compact as possible. And then we'll probably do like maybe 2 or 3 parts, depending on how far I get today. Okay. So today, talking about what is good health. Now, I think it's incredibly important to look and attack this topic right here. Why? Because I find that if you don't ask the right question, you're gonna get. If you ask the wrong question, you're gonna get the wrong answer. All right. If you do the wrong research, you're gonna get the wrong results or the wrong data, and we see this all the time. If you don't know what the ideal picture or image of health is that you are particularly chasing, or you've been somehow somebody or some sort of marketing or some sort of agency or some sort of group or somebody you trust has somehow steered your direction of what is good health towards a particular direction. Right. So let me use my example, my story. I started out, I studied this in college and I was training others in college, but right after college, I was working in a big box gym, and a good friend like saw me training, saw all the things I could do. I was like, "Man, you're fit, you can do a lot, but you're kind of small. Don't you want to get bigger?" That question right there set me on a path of changing everything I was doing, lifting heavy, getting more into the bodybuilding aspect of things. And it wasn't long before I realized this is not for me. Right? My body's aching. I'm not training properly. I'm not using proper mind body connection. Like I'm just doing this for ego. So when I really looked at that, I see a lot of that in people I talk to and clients that I talk to, um, that are coming to me, and they already have this. Like they want to look like, Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger, or I don't so much know, the female side of this in terms of what they would want to look like, but all these tiny waisted, big butt, like, all this like just stuff that isn't necessarily have anything to do with what you feel internally, first and foremost. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with how your head or your mental is functioning. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with really anything else besides just ego, right? And getting others to tell you you look good, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And I think, in fact, you can achieve that while still caring about your internal, what's happening. All right. So the good life, the good health, or say, is to me, it's how you live. It's a lifestyle, and I'm a huge fan of using very simple, effective, inexpensive lifestyle changes to avoid expensive, ineffective medication, surgeries, etc. So that's what it really always comes down to: lifestyle. What are you doing 80% of the time? Right. If you go to the gym, and this is the difference between a trainer and a coach like myself, if you go to the gym, you work with a trainer. There's some great trainers out there. There's also a lot of really bad ones too. They'll work with you an hour, maybe three, max 4 or 5 times a week, and then you go home. Well, what are you doing for the other like 23 hours or other 22 hours if you're training for 2 hours, right? That all matters. That's all part of this whole good health thing. All right. So first, I think bringing awareness to the fact that we are very, very far away from our ideal health as humans, right? We live in a society or a context, right, that is not geared towards having us be healthy. We're, for example, I mean, we're inside like 80% of the time when we should be outside 80% of the time. Or eating dehydrated, overheated, overcooked dead foods when we should be eating 80% of the times when we should be eating live, raw, good food 80% of the time. Where our breathing has been restricted actively in the last few months, but even before then, it's been restricted in the fact that a lot of individuals are mouth breathers or the nasal breathers, and they don't even realize it, right? They don't realize the damage that it's causing. We're known for quick and convenience because of the way that our life society is set up, right? Listen, I don't want to spend time on this. Da, 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 da. Well, if you're not going to spend time on your health, what life is going to force you to spend time on your health at some point in time, right? So I think it's really important for us to really acknowledge and realize that we do not live in an ideal environment. So like the most ideal version of health for us is actually not going to look like it should. And in fact, it might be a lot different. Like we got to adapt, right? So I look at, we really got to think about and look at different examples of great health throughout history. And we start to really find our answers here. And I think you really don't have to go that far, but they pop up over and over and over and over again. For example, reference the book Born to Run and the Tara O'Mara's, right? Now, if you've already read that, you know the story, but if you haven't, it's go ahead and look it up. I won't spend too much time going over it now. But the one thing I want to point out about the running people, the Tara O'Mara's, is that those that still lived the way that their forefathers lived, the way that their the people before them, the ancestors lived, they're still in great health. They're still the true running people. They still can do all those things that's said in the book. But go down the mountain a little bit, go down further, those that have started to mingle with the modern day world, those that have started to eat modern day foods, those that have started to not run as much like their forefathers did, all right, they're experiencing a lot of the same health issues that modern folks are experiencing. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that tell us something? All right, so I'll let you guys sit on that for a second. Then the other is in the reference in the book, The Choice is Clear, where we talk about folks living in the Himalayas, who are extremely healthy in so-called blue zones. Right, The Choice is Clear is the book. You can reference that as well. Now, the thing interesting there is that, again, we look at their lifestyle and it's very similar to the Tara O'Mara's, very similar choices. The big thing for them there is their choice of water, right? The choice of water that they're drinking. So we have the Tara O'Mara's who are more so in terms of more intrigued in terms of their diet, their movement, what they're doing in the day-to-day, how they live with their coexist with their environment. And then you have the Choice is Clear, which talks about the type of water that these individuals drink, right? Very, very, very important, right? We're nowhere near that now. If you test water coming out of pipes in both states, you're going to find some real nasty things, right? Now, unless you grew up on like well water, for example, where our society is not conducive to that. So we have to modify ourselves. So for me personally, that comes in purchasing a Kangen machine. If you're interested in any of that, definitely let me know. And we'll chat about, your water that you're drinking. Then I look at the gladiators of ancient Rome. Now, I didn't know this for a long time, but did you know the gladiators were actually vegetarians? Like they didn't eat meat, right? So, we look at these big burly people, right? Strong and very athletic. And you think to yourself, man, they don't eat meat, or they don't what? How do they get all their protein, right? And you can go on my Instagram @CutTheNoise and look at my highlights on highlight stories on proteins where I break down the protein myth. But how do they get to where they are? And then, look at modern day athletes who've made that conversion, like Chris Paul, for example, comes to mind. How he said, he credits the switch in diet as that being like what has lengthened his career. Tons of other athletes actually will say this, right? To me, that points to something. It points to something. And then again, studying blue zones, and then even from my own personal experience, growing up in a completely different society, that I lived on a farm, I lived in the country, I saw how things were different. All right. And the one thing I haven't even put out necessarily or even talked about yet is the level of stress. All right. Going for the if you've never been to the country, you can even imagine. Go from the country to the city. Yes, there's more excitement, there's more stimulus, there's more lights, there's more stuff going on, but there's also a lot more stress, a ton more stress. And isn't it interesting that when we go to the doctor, regardless of what condition you have, regardless of what ailment you came in with, doctors will say, oh yeah, diet and exercise, more sunshine, right? Basically listen to 7 doctors of nature will do you some good. You could have everything from cancer down to like a stomach ache, right? Isn't that interesting? So we'll definitely need to have a part 2 of this. What is good health, as we really continue to break it down. But that's where I'll leave it out today, to just get your mind going, just start you thinking, just start you rolling. And as you really look at this stuff, looking great is great. Being fit to be on the cover of a magazine is great. But know that institutions and society and whatnot is literally crafting what is good health without actually considering what's good for you. So definitely want to take a look at that. And I encourage you to take your health into your own hands. If you're interested, I'm more than willing and happy to assist. If you're ready to really take that leap into really taking charge of your health, go ahead and message me on Instagram or any platform. And I appreciate you guys for being in this group. Thank you so much. Next week, we'll be back with part 2 of good health. Remember to cut the noise and focus, follow one path and follow one course until successful. See you next time on Cut the Noise Show.